Welcome back, super friends, and thanks again for joining Miss Choice on another math video. Today we're going to focus on problem solving and using appropriate tools. So this is going to be lesson 15-6. Of course, you need your math notebook, you need a pencil, and you need that nice big brain of yours. Stay tuned for the video. Hello, super friends. Just as a reminder, we're on lesson 15-6, Practice Buddy Independent Practice, and we will be problem solving. Our first question asks, what are the measures of the sides and angles of a parallelogram? Use exercises 3 through 5 to help solve. Click the icon to view the parallelogram. So a parallelogram is a shape. It is a type of quadrilateral. Quadrilateral means it's a closed shape that has 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Now, they're asking us what tools can we use to get the measures of the sides and the angles. I know anytime that we've had to measure the side of something, I know I've used a ruler. And then the angles, we learned this unit that we have to use a protractor. So a protractor helps with the angles, a ruler helps with the sides. Let's see what that tells us. So use a number cube and counters, that doesn't help. Use place value blocks, that wouldn't help. Use a protractor and a ruler, I did mention that. And then it says no tools are needed. That's incorrect information. Let's check our work. We are correct. The next part says, explain how to use the tool you chose to find the measures of the angles. Label the figure with the measures you find. So it says set the center of the what? For angles, we have to use what? A protractor. So the protractor is for the angles. Set the center of the protractor on a corner or a side of the parallelogram. If we're talking about an angle, remember it's the corner. We want that little crevice, the vertex. So corner, which is the same thing as vertex of the parallelogram, and the bottom on/along a blank. Read the measure of a side or a corner. So we're setting the lines of the protractor on the sides. I'm going to show you a picture of a protractor. Okay, I wanted to go back to lesson 15-4 just to show you exactly what I meant for the protractor and the words that I will be using. So this is the angle, the red line, that angle here, that's an angle. Obviously, looking at it, we know it's an obtuse angle, but however, to measure it using the protractor, what I did was made sure that the circle part in the center of the protractor was at the vertex or the center of the angle. And then I made sure that my line, my straight line of the protractor lined up with one line of my angle. And then looking at the other line that actually went to the actual numbers of the angles, that's when I was able to find out the actual measure of the angle using the protractor. So those words, when you have to set the center of the protractor into the corner of the angle and then make sure that the rest of the protractor is on the side of the angle or the shape, that's basically the wording that I wanted to use so that you guys could see it. So returning back to lesson 15-6, what we want to do is make sure that we set the center of the protractor on the corner of the parallelogram's angle and set the bottom of the protractor on the bottom or along the side of the parallelogram. So let's check our work to make sure that we have the correct wording. We are correct. I'm going to click the icon to view the parallelogram with the protractor. Now, looking at this picture, they are asking me to find the actual measure of the angles that I'm showing. It says the bottom right and the top left angles are blank. So this bottom right angle, which is what we're actually going to measure, is going to be the same as the top left angle because those are parallel to each other. That means that they're going to be very similar to each other. They're going to be parallel and congruent. So that means they don't touch. These angles are not touching, and they're going to be the same. So these angles will be the same. Now looking at it, remember I'm opening up on this way on the left, and then I'm moving up and getting bigger to the right. So that means that I'm going on the outside number. I'm starting at 0 and then going on the outside 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, and it looks like it's between 110 and 120, so that's 115. 115. So I'm done with this. Those angles are 115 degrees. Let's check our answer. We are correct. So I'm just going to find the bottom left and the top right angles, which is just the other two angles that we didn't see. So following those angles are going to be looking at the bottom, making sure that the center of the protractor is matching the center of the angle, which is also called the vertex. So I'm having it measured perfect, but this time we see it's opening up on the right-hand side. It's not opening up on the left-hand side. So we're going to use the inside numbers in order to get our actual degrees. So starting right here, they're lined up, the lines with my straight line with my protractor. It's 0, then we open up to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and it's between 60 and 70, which means it'll be 65 degrees. And that is saying that this angle is 65 degrees, and because they're the same, this angle is 65 degrees. So that would be our answer. Now let's go ahead and put in our 65 degrees that we found, and let's check our answer. We are correct. Another thing before we move on, another thing to notice about these measurements, if we add these measures of the angles that we found, if we add them together, guys, we'll realize that they will equal a straight line, because we were basically measuring a straight line, except it was just in a shape. So let's see if it measures up to an actual straight line. That would be 10, regroup, that's 8, and that's, yep. So it does equal to a straight line. So anytime you're finding out the measurements of shapes, guys, and it's all on the same line, you see this angle was on the same line as this angle, when we add them together, they should equal what it would be for a straight line. So this should be enough to add to this angle, which was 115. And if we add that up, it equals 180 degrees. I wanted you guys to make sure that you knew that that was important to note. So this should be 180 degrees on this side, and it should be 180 degrees up here because it's a straight line. Same situation for here. Straight line, it should be equal. Straight line, it should be equal. If it is equal, then you know you measured the correct way. Moving on to the next part, it says explain how to use the tool you chose to find the lengths of the sides. Label the figure with the measures you find. Now, measuring sides, we remember from 3rd grade and 2nd grade possibly that we use rulers to measure the sides. And anytime we measure a side, we always have to, when we're using that ruler, it's to set the blank mark of the ruler on one blank of the parallelogram and line up the ruler with a blank. Then read the measure. So anytime I use a ruler, I have to make sure I start at 0. I'm always starting at 0. I noticed some of you guys when you were measuring things before that you guys would start at the 1 or at a 10 and work backwards. It was interesting, but we always start at 0 on a ruler so we get the best reading, which is the only correct reading. And now looking at the picture of the parallelogram, if we're going to use a ruler on it, we would have to set the ruler to a corner at 0. So to the corner at 0. And then we would have to line up the rest of the ruler with the side, because we start at the corner, but then we line it up with the side. Or you start at the corner, then you line it up with the side. Or start at the corner, line it up with the side. Start at the corner, line it up at the side. Either way, start at the corner, line it up at the side. Very similar to how you use a protractor. Let's check our answer. We are correct. Now, this says, click the icon to view the parallelogram with a ruler. Let's go ahead and start working. Oh, we lined it up from the corner at 0, and we lined up the rest of the ruler at the side. So it looks like we're at 2 and a little over a half, so probably 2 3/4. So 2.75 inches. That's what I believe it is. 2.75 or 2 3/4 of an inch. So let's go ahead and try to type in our answer. So you see here that they let us know that we can type our answer as a whole number, a fraction, or a mixed number. So I'm going to do the mixed number, which it was 2 and space 3/4, 2 3/4, which it automatically starts giving me that fraction. That was nice of them. So the length of the left and right sides, meaning that they're the same because they're parallel again. So if they're parallel, they're basically like mirrored angles of each other. Square, no, it's not square inches, it's inches, regular inches. Square inches means that we're multiplying it twice. So we're multiplying inches by inches. Cubic means that we're multiplying it 3 times. So that'd be inches by inches by inches. But this time there was no multiplying. We just read the actual ruler, and the ruler said inches. Let's check ourselves. We are correct. Now it says, click the icon to view the parallelogram with the ruler. What is the length of the bottom and the top side? So we're getting the final measurements of our parallelogram. Let's do the bottom. And remember, if it's parallel, that means that it's the same up top. So we start at 0. And then this time we're at 2.5. We're halfway between 2 and 3. So 2.5 is where we are. I wonder if they would let us write it as a decimal, but this is 2.5. And I know that 2.5 is equal to 2 1/2, so that would be 2 1/2. Let's check our answers. Again, they have us doing whole number, fraction, or mixed number, so I will do my mixed number. 2 space 1/2, 1.5. I mean, sorry, 2.5. And then again, it's still just inches. Let's check ourselves. We are correct. All right, friends, so this part of the lesson is another 7 parts. So it'd be like 7 mini questions that you have. A lot of these are talking about angles, which I know you guys are used to. This is your 6th lesson, which is your last lesson before you take a test about dealing with angles. I want you to measure it out, draw it out. If it gives you a diagram to look at the diagram. Of course, if you need help, you know where to find me. Like this, we know how to deal with. We got to think about it. If it looks like a straight line, if they give you any numbers, think about subtracting or adding. It's very simple for you to get used to when dealing with it. So if there's any questions, you know where to find Miss Choice. Otherwise, if you need to rewind and go back to anything else, feel free. And if you have any questions about these types of questions, feel free to look at the other videos that I posted as well if you can't get to me. Thanks again, Super Friends, for watching my video. Hopefully you learned some math tips and tricks for this lesson. So feel free to like the video if you learned something and subscribe to Miss Choice in case you want some help with any upcoming lessons. Be sure to make today a great day or not. The choice is up to you. Until then.